I figured out it's okay to ask for help. And I want anyone watching to understand that there's people out there who care, and it's okay to ask for help if you need it. Don't try to do it on your own when it's not working. There's people who will support you and care about you.
Hi, my name is Alex with livinginthenews.com, and I'm here with Jason. Jason kind of has a story that I'd like to get out there. Jason's helping a lot of people right now, but Jason came from a place that he had a struggle. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell him a little bit about where you started and where your struggle became?
Yeah, my name's Jason Whittier. Grew up in Idaho my whole life. Moved to Oregon just recently, through my recovery journey. But, I came from a good family, I had what I needed, but I always felt a bit like I didn't belong. And this sense of exclusion and not belonging, it drove me to some very dark places. I carried a lot of shame and guilt with me. I started using substances when I was 16. And, excuse me, right from the get, it was that release of that feeling of belonging. I found a group that I could belong to and feel accepted. And this became my demon. It followed me for 20 years. I barely missed a day, I think, in that 20 years. I was fairly high functioning. High
functioning meaning that you were still consuming those things, but were able to go about your life okay.
Yeah. I did get my bachelor's degree. I was basically always employed.
Mm-hmm.
I was always pretty self-sufficient, considering, but, all my time and resources and everything was spent on substances, essentially, in one way or another. It all revolved around that.
You said you came from a good family, but you felt like you didn't belong. What do you think now, looking back, caused that?
Well, the way I grew up, there was a very strict code of conduct of how you were to behave and how you were to think and feel and believe.
Religious?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't like to go into that too much because at this point in my life, I don't judge people based on religion or groups. I try to take each person as an individual, and I want to hear each person's story. Everyone has a story to tell.
But I know that sometimes people live in a world that they feel that they're not necessarily part of, whether it be religion, whether it be culture, whether it be so many variables that somebody says, well, I've raised in a good family, but I don't feel part of them. And that's kind of, I believe, what you're saying. And then you felt a family in when you started partaking of substances. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, the thing about using a lot of times is that a lot of people will accept anyone.
Right.
It's to be part of the secret, so to speak. And you all share a secret, and any type of behavior is tolerated.
So when you said that you were high functioning, you were able to get your degree, you were able to do what you need to do. What caused you to say, I don't want this anymore? Or what caused you to change?
Well, it was, I have been clean and sober for over 2 years now. I couldn't give you the exact date, or I can't give you the date, but I couldn't tell you how many days, because for me, it's just one day at a time. I just have to stay sober today. So at that point in my life, I was a superintendent, working over construction. We were building low-income housing in some very, very rough places in Salt Lake City. The drugs, the substances, that stuff was just everywhere, and it was so
Easy to get to,
accessible,
yeah.
easy to get to, and I fell into a really bad cycle where I was working so much building these apartments and so forth. I was using substances to just stay awake. I would work day and night. And given long enough of doing that, I just started to break down mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And finally it got to a point, my marriage was a wreck. Everything was a wreck. I was falling apart, in a lot of ways. I finally got to a point that it was like, I have to do this or I'm going to die, literally. And I just didn't want it anymore. I hated how I'd become. I was caught in this endless cycle that never, I would make more money and therefore use more substances. It was never, I could never get ahead. So finally, I went, I took the first recovery place that would accept me and accept my insurance, which happened to be a long ways away. But it was at that moment, in rehab, that I figured out it's okay to ask for help. And I want anyone watching to understand that there's people out there who care, and it's okay to ask for help if you need it. Don't try to do it on your own when it's not working. There's people who will support you and care about you. And I feel like I've worked with a lot of those people.
Thank you. So 2 years in some people's life may seem very short.
Yes.
But in recovery, that's huge. That's a long time because you're literally dealing with day to day. And what do you think got you to that 2-year period? You just shared with the community how important it is to have somebody there. Was it something in your past that you remembered, or is it something in your present that happened? What helped you say, okay, I can do this?
I was tired of running away, and it's a very, this is a very deep issue for me, because it was at a moment where I had lost everything. I was just, all I had was the shirt on my back, essentially, at this moment. And I got some really bad news one day, and I went outside and I was looking at the clouds, and I just realized, this is all happening for a reason, and all the pieces seemed to fit together. It was at that moment that I chose to put my life in God's hands, and I didn't know what it meant, or I didn't have any structure to it. I just knew that this was all part of something bigger, and that I had lessons to learn. And at that moment I threw up my hands and I said, I can't do this anymore. I've been doing this for 20 years and I don't have the answer. So God, you just put me where you need me. And so here I am in Ontario, Oregon, of all places. I love it here. I honestly do. It's great here, and I've met so many great people. I didn't immediately go into this field. You have to get some clean time under your belt. So I took a lot of jobs around here, working in mills. Lots of great people around here. The people are so just. There's great people who live in this area.
And you work for Lifeways,
yeah.
and you work at the Drop-in Center.
Yeah.
What else do you do with Lifeways?
So my job as a certified recovery mentor is to meet people where they're at. To go out, we do outreach, where I love doing outreach. It's one of my favorite things because I get to go out into the community, meet people face to face where they're at,
Can you take a moment to just describe meet people where they're at? Because I think that's big.
Yeah.
That's an important thing.
Yeah. So, around Ontario specifically, there's some houseless encampments where people are just living in tents and trailers and so forth, which is, I'm not going to make a value judgment on that. If that's how you want to live, that's fine, you know? But a lot of people don't want to live that way, and they're looking for a way out. And we have the services and the ability to help those people get off the streets and into rehab or some kind of support system. Whether it's substance use disorder, which is what I specifically, specialize in, or the mental health side of it. I'm out there to help anyone who needs it, and it's my job to connect people to resources, other organizations in the community that are able to help. Oregon is amazing. I grew up in places where there wasn't necessarily a lot of those types of systems and support. Oregon it's just amazing how much there's been done legislatively and through community action and so forth to just create these systems where people can get help.
So no matter the circumstance, you have a way to connect them in the right place.
Well, as far as Lifeways goes, we specialize in substance use disorder and mental health.
But
we partner with other community organizations, and I'm happy. I will send people wherever they're going to get the best help.
Right. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it's amazing. We have such wonderful community partners. If they need housing, I will send them to the place that does housing, and that specializes in that, if that's all they need, And we have so many of those organizations here that we are really blessed. Like I said, there's help out there, so reach out if you need it.
Wonderful. And I just think, I want to talk about you one more time before we talk about others out there, but what gives you the strength every day? Because like I understand, I know, and my last interview, we talked about somebody that didn't have a home, was living in camp, and somebody kind of touched his life. But what gives you the day-to-day strength?
Look, I'm not perfect. I will never claim to be. I still struggle, on a daily basis to figure out what the right thing to do is. And part of my recovery has been just do the next right thing. Don't think about everything at once. Whatever situation comes at you, just do the right thing in that situation. So little victories, and the people that I help. That is the main thing that keeps me sober and doing the right thing, is that if I ever have a temptation or a thought to do something, I can go through all kinds of scenarios in my head, but it always comes down to what keeps me from walking out that door is all of the people I work with and all the clients that we support. How disappointing it would be for them to see me do something that would let them down.
That's amazing. I've heard over and over again that if you want to find yourself, serve others. And you just kind of prove that point, that if you want to help strengthen yourself, you're helping others, and that strengthens you.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Now, I want to give you a moment to talk to whoever's out there that you would like to talk to, and just send them your message.
Yeah. Despite your circumstance, despite your, long-held beliefs or your just stubbornness, we all need change. We all need to improve, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go to someone who cares and tell them that you need help with something. And this was a hard issue for me. I couldn't ask for help. The first time I really asked for help, I felt like, was the day I walked into a detox center. And I had to let go of some of that pride. And your pride is not worth destroying your life over. Please, just reach out for help. I'm just going to keep it simple, because we all need change, and there's no shame in it.
Well, 2 years sober, 2 years clean, that's amazing. And I've said this over and over again as I've done these interviews. I just think that you're a hero, that you're doing the right thing, and you're saving other people's lives, and it's an amazing thing that you guys do, and I'm glad to be part of it. I'm glad you guys allow me to visit with you and talk to you guys. And any last words you'd like to say? You kind of said it, I think, but...
Yeah, no. And you know, the thing is I know that's very kind of you, and I'm no hero. You know, the fact is that we all have the ability to help another person. It's not that hard to help someone. You know, especially when you are someone who has a lot to give. It doesn't hurt to help someone when you have the right boundaries, of course.
Right.
And you have to learn those boundaries. It's important, very important, to figure out your boundaries in life. But just help others. You know, it's very simple.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
And thank all of you for watching livinginthenews.com.